What causes you to make sense? And what are the actual tangible things that cause you to close that gap or open that gap and actually self-sabotage? And it starts with something that you can do today. Every single thing that you do, verbally and non-verbally, is communicating something along that gap that is getting you closer or farther away from the efficacy of the judge saying, "That's her." Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. It's so good to be with you all today. I'm calling this episode the gap between where you are and getting to where you want to be to win your pageant. Let's talk about the gap. First and foremost, the first time that I learned about the gap, or one of the first times, was when I was learning sales, actually. And one of the best ways to sell somebody into something is to show them that you are here and XYZ offer is over here. And in order for you to get there with the least amount of friction and the shortest amount of time, with the greatest amount of efficiency, typically that is going to require an offer or a coach of some kind or some kind of speeder upper, if you will, right? This is why if you've ever bought water pills to help you slim down before your swimsuit competition, or you've bought electrolytes to put in your water, or you've bought a protein bar because it's faster than cooking, right? These are all offers that are placed inside of the gap between your pain, your problem, your pain point, and then the solution or the desire that you have to get to XYZ. Okay, Coach Megan, this is not a sales podcast. Why does this actually affect me in my pageant? Because this is your responsibility. In your pageant, you walk in to every pageant, and there's a gap between the believability of your skill set, your mindset, and your leadership ability, your ability to captivate the judges into seeing you over here on this side of the gap, but you start on this side of the gap. And it is your job to close that throughout every phase of competition so that at the end, you are seen as the easiest, fastest, most efficient, and effective product or service possible. Does that make sense? So when you are presenting who you are in an interview, okay, usually your second impression after your headshots and your social media and things of that nature, and then we move into areas of competition and onstage competition, whether it's speaking or performing, whether it's your fashion, whether it's your hair and makeup. Every single thing that you do verbally and non-verbally is communicating something along that gap that is getting you closer or farther away from the efficacy of the judge saying, "That's her." This is the simplest way I could possibly put it in the entire world. And why it may madden some of you guys, the girl that you don't like, that you think didn't work as hard as you, or whatever, that beat you. Why that's annoying is because something about her, if it wasn't rigged, right, which is 99% of pageants, but if something about her made it easier for judges to just say, "She makes sense. She makes sense." So I want to dive just a little bit deeper in today to what causes you to make sense and what are the actual tangible things that cause you to close that gap or open that gap and actually self-sabotage. And it starts with something that you can do today. So something that you can do today, and we talked about this on Mindset Makeover, and something that you have to do today, by the way. You can't start doing this at your pageant. You can't start doing this a week before your pageant. You have to 100% unanimously decide that you are going to be the same person here, now, at the gym, at church, hanging out with your friends, going out on the weekends, at work, as the person that shows up for the pageant. You are confusing your own brain and your own heart every day that you act out of integrity with the true nature of who you are, and then you expect yourself to self-regulate, put the mask on, perform, step into this identity of a person who thinks like, acts like, walks like, talks like a winner, when in reality, you have not been congruently thinking, acting, walking, and talking like that in your everyday life, thus up until this point. Can I get an amen? Can we just be honest? And when you act out of integrity because the version of you that doesn't keep your promises to yourself to go to the gym when you know that you need to lose 10 pounds, and then you're doing all these horrendous things to your body that's wrecking your hormones the week before your pageant, trying to make up for lost time. Or we do that in the same way in our mindset, where we will do things that are detrimental towards our own self-care, self-worth, self-identity. We don't keep promises to ourselves. We're flaking on our friends. We don't text people back. We show up late to work. We mail it in at work, and we don't act like a high achiever. We're just trying to get our paycheck and get through the day. And then all of a sudden you expect yourself to walk into pageant season or pageant time and feeling comfortable to be the highest achiever, the best talker, the best walker, the best thinker, when you're now around 20 to 50 other women who have also worked hard to be there and are beautiful and have their crap together and all these different things. That's a lot to expect of yourself. And it's wrong to expect of yourself because it's not going to happen. What happens instead is you start to act weird and goofy and get overly loud or overly helpful or overly quiet and isolated because you're uncomfortable, because something in you doesn't actually believe that you are the girl to beat. And you're trying to convince yourself to close that massive chasm of a gap in one weekend, one day of competition, 1 week of competition. Constantly looking external for your validation. Does the executive director do I feel like she's paying attention to me? Does the girl who's my biggest competition like me? Do I feel like they're putting me in the front? Was I part of the top 3 in the run through? And you're constantly looking for external things to validate your identity, to say to yourself, I am a winner. When in reality, baby girl, it is way too late. Because if you cannot genuinely look yourself in the mirror and think, I am a winner, and then prove that by your actions and your words and your habits and your psychology every day, then you're lying. And lying never did anything good, first of all. But lying to yourself to try and get yourself to wrestle your psychology, your physiology, your mind, your brain, your will, your emotions, your spirit, your everything in your body. You're trying to wrestle it into submission the week of. That's why you're putting so much pressure on yourself to have to perform in the moment, because you're being incongruent in the rest of your life. Now, this isn't me saying you're a bad person. This isn't me saying, oh, it's over, it's done for you, it's whatever. Chances are you still have some time to work on this, okay? But this is also why we work with a lot of our clients for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, because it can take some time to rewire and refire these parts of your brain that get you into a new pattern, new behaviors, and a new routine. Because I'm here to tell you, all of your behaviors come out of your state. And all of your state comes out of your internal representation. And your entire internal representation comes out of the way that you process external events that are happening to you on a daily basis. This is how 2 people who can watch the exact same situation or even be a part of the same situation, be sitting in the same courtroom, be sitting in the same classroom, whatever it is, the same pageant, can have 2 totally different representations and 2 totally different stories of something. Because the way that it passed through their internal representation, their filter, their sense of self, their sense of identity, affects their state, which affects their psychology, their behaviors, and also their physiology, right? The way that they carry themselves, the way that they talk, the way that they walk. So this is super important. This is the number one thing that we work on, first and foremost with all of our clients, is where are you off in this area? And what external events specifically are causing you to get messed up in your head and then scramble at the last minute or put pressure on yourself, or, the cycle happens where you can't authentically just walk in and have a blast, acting as if, because you just are. It's way easier to be if you just have to be, rather than convincing yourself, oh, calm down. I don't need to be worried. I don't need to be anxious. I can just trust myself. When in reality, you can't trust yourself. You cannot trust your habits because you've been lying to yourself and you have not been consistent over the past 1, 2, 3, 6, 12 months. So one of the biggest things that nobody talks about when it comes to the gap is teaching people and holding people accountable for their consistency, holding people accountable that this is the secret sauce of winning. And this is also why you can teach people walking all day, and they'll still biff it when it comes to perform, or when it comes to actually speaking, or anything that they can't just put a mask on and fake it with vain repetition, basically. They're going to screw it up. Or while you're placing top 10 one day and then second runner up the next day and then this the next day, it's because you are not consistent. And chances are there's something about you that maybe you are not fully congruent, authentic, accepting. And sorry, I had a massive cold last week, by the way. Something that is just, it's not aligning. And when it's not aligned, that's where it's super easy to ping pong in your brain. Super, super, super easy. So the good news is, if you want to fix this, we're here to help. Coach Allison and I are going to personally be walking a small group of you guys through how to do this and how to become so congruent in your lives that there's no pressure. And we have, a side of us that really, really wants it and that's going to go for it, that's going to crush it, that's putting the gas pedal down. But we also have this other side of us that's like, I'm worthy. I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm healed and whole on the inside. I know who I am. I know what my stories are. And I'll kind of break down the 4 weeks for you guys. I think you'll find this really exciting. So week 1 is we're going to talk all about identity and congruency. Okay, so we have to identify the areas that are out of alignment first to help you get back into alignment, to get a super clear vision of this is why things have gone wrong in the past and this is what I need to do to be successful. Number 2, then we're going to start to step into your wisdom, your intellect, and your depth. So this is kind of like the power, presence, warmth triangle in a sense that we've talked about, but from a different lens, where why do I feel the need to push my accolades on people? Why do I feel the need to make sure I'm the most impressive person there, or the most helpful person there, and the most humble person there? Or I'm scared I'm going to come across as arrogant, or I'm scared I'm going to come across as just the funny girl. Whatever those edges are that we need to figure out how to make you come across as positioned, as powerful, but also relatable, warm, adaptable, all these kinds of things. And we're also going to teach you how to be the most adaptable, flexible person. Because the person that can be the most flexible will win. Because if you think about it, if you're holding so tightly on the pressure and I got to do this right, and you're only focusing externally on the mechanics of things, that's because you haven't actually had an internal revelation that matches your external execution. You've not had an internal revelation that matches your external execution, and that's a problem. So then my only option is to turn on the high achiever and strive in hopes that I get it right and that I work hard enough to impress them in the moment. But that striving energy is not the peaceful, calm, confident leader that we're looking for. Okay. So we start to match our insides to our outsides while also talking about brand and your storylines and, what are the things that we should be talking about, and really developing that spiritual side of you, because the spiritual is where your depth and where wisdom comes from. And in that, we position you as the hero, right? Because you need to know how to position yourself as the hero. It's actually like stupidly important. It's like really, really, really important, right? I can share my weaknesses and I can also share my strengths. And therefore, you're looking forward to me winning at the end of the movie because I'm positioned as the hero. So once we get into intelligence, depth, and wisdom, then, like I said, we're going to focus on passion, mission, vision. I call this building the platform. So number 1 was build congruency. Number 2 was build the hero. Number 3 was build the platform and the brand. Okay. And then I'll tell you the last part in a second. So passion, mission, vision, brand. This is, what do you care about? What if specifically you conquered that's made you an authority to speak on XYZ? Okay. And we're going to help you bring all this together in a way where you know exactly how to speak, what to speak about, which stories are valid, which all your stories are valid, but which ones we want to use for this specific in a pageant, and how are we going to develop that into something where, again, it's very easy to pick you where you make sense. And then the last part is going to be building the walk, and it's activating, we call it behavior, bearing, poise, and posture. And, these are the external, like when I walk into a room, do people notice me? And really working on the behavior aspects of things. Okay. So why do my hands get sweaty? Or why do I speed up and I become a chatterbox when I'm uncomfortable? Or why does my arm do this weird thing when I walk? Or why do I get in my head and I cross my feet whenever I do my interview? And then certainly, actually, how do I walk and things like that as well? But anything that behaviorally becomes weird is because of your mindset. It's not actually because of your behavior. So we're going to go over these 4 things for the next 4 weeks. And I'm so excited because I'm excited to see so many girls that have been chilling in top 5 forever. And they just start popping off because they do this. So I'm super, super excited for that. I know it's going to be transformational. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side so we can help you close that gap and become the person that wins over and over and over. Click the link below and I'll see you on the other side. Bye, guys. See you next week.